Everything that surrounds us, including us, is not real, and it is an illusion. And the most powerful tool that makes us believe this illusion and go along with it is time. Because if there was no time, if there was only space and matter, and there was no illusion of time and processes that happening through time, we wouldn't have believed this illusion. So time is a tool in which the all-nothingness, us, call it what you want, uses in order to ground the separate form into the story, to make the separate form believe the story, identify with the story, and create the story. It needs time. Time has several qualities. One is continuity. Time never stops, never. It is a continuous movement. In the human usual perception, time is a constant movement. It never stops. It has a certain rhythm, and you can trust it that it will always be there, this constant movement of time. Also, another quality of time is that it is going forward. Time, as we know it as humanity, never goes backwards to the other direction. We never go back in time. We always go forward in time. And we can ask, why is it? Why is it that we can only travel in time or experience time forward and not backwards? And the answer is that because the separate form has to create an angle in which it experiences this all-nothingness, this illusion, in which it expresses itself. So in order for it to create this angle, she must, the separate form, create a story, a believable story, a logical story. So if we had the ability to go back in time and change the story, and time was very flexible, the story would not have been very strong, because we could have created a story, an easy story, a different story. We could have done what we wanted with the story, and this is not what an angle, I call it an angle, a separate form should do. Because the separate form has to live its fullest potential. And going back in time and changing the story will not be benefit for the story itself. Maybe for the character, if someone you loved has died and you wish you could go back in time and prevent the thing that killed him, maybe it was an accident. So if you could do that and go back in time and prevent this accident, the separate form, which is you, would not have experienced all the things that she experienced through this death. And there are very unique stories that are created by this oneness of moment that is so cruel, that time is so cruel that it is not flexible and you can never go back in the time. So you have to live your life. It's a once in a lifetime experience. You have to do it. You have to do your very best in every second, because you never get just a second chance. Time doesn't give you a second chance. So it's a cruel story, because this is what there is. You have to cope with it and manage with whatever you have done. So you have to take responsibility over your life and over your choices, because you only get one chance and then you go forward, and you can never fix things retrospectively. And this is so because you have to live the fullest potential of the separate form, and she can only do that if she is confronted with the results of its actions. So when the separate form acts in a certain way, she has only one chance to do that. This is why there is a time barrier between forward time and backwards time, between time that's going forward and time that's going backwards. And we can never go back in time. Not because we can't, just because it's not logical. Sometimes people use drugs and they lose the perception of time. And then the story is confused. The character is confused because it needs this logic. It needs to know that there is a continuity in what it does. It's not like in the dream state, not the dream state that we are in. The dream state at night when we sleep, and there is no perception of time. Time loses all its meanings. And it's wonderful. And you live through this amazing non-time experience through the dreams. But if there was no separation between these dreams at night, the dreaming, and this state of reality that we live in, we could have not experienced this life as we know it of the separate form. There are many parameters, endless parameters, who have to move simultaneously in order to create the illusion of time. Time, in the absolute reality, is a still process. We are used in the ordinary thinking to a moving process, to a process that has a movement in it, and usually it goes forward. It's an onward, forward movement. But time is stillness in process. The processes are still. It's the illusion of a process. Time is the illusion of the process. Because when you think about something that takes time, like a tree that blossoms and you can see the fruits, and then the fruits are ripe and you can eat them. But in the beginning there were flowers. They were flowers, these fruits. So you can see the time passing through the movement from the flower that becomes the fruit. But the illusion of time is like a superimposed moving images that stand one on top of each other, like in a superimposed kind of way. There is a picture of a tree and it has leaves, and on it there is a picture of a tree with flowers, and on it there is a picture of a tree with fruits. And these pictures that change create the illusion of time. Same is for us. Our image is changing through time, and we feel the implication of time through the changes, through the processes that we experience. It's very hard to perceive that there is no movement in the present moment that is still, that is all nothingness, that is empty, that there is no matter in it, that there is no space in it, that everything happens in. These are also tools in order to create this illusion. But if we concentrate on the time factor and try to understand why is it that we believe time, that we can never doubt that time is passing, it is because the illusion of the superimposed picture creates a process in front of the angle of the separate form, and it identifies it as a process that takes time, because the pictures change, because the imagery changes. So it has to be that something is being done, creating some kind of, call it time. This is time, the stillness that looks like a process. If there was a beginning and an end to this stillness, there was time. But because this oneness is and have always been all the time the same one still point, time doesn't exist in the all-nothingness, the oneness. The all-nothingness was never created and will never end. It has always been here because it is the only thing that is, and in it there is no concept of time. We cannot grasp it because we are trapped in the world that time controls, that we cannot think that there can be a different state other than a linear timeline in which we follow forward in a forward movement. But if we look at our lives and we think about the times that time just flew by and we don't know what happened, and we look at the watch and we see that, wow, this was an hour and it felt like 5 minutes. Where did the time go? This is because we don't have a system inside our separate form body that controls time or creates something in the brain that monopolizes time, and it's very steady, because time is very, very flexible in its nature. In the illusion, it's very flexible. It doesn't have, because it's empty and it's not real, so it doesn't have something very specific that you can hold, like a rhythm that you should follow. It's flexible. It can do what you want, time. It can stand still. But most of us can't control this visualization of time, so we surrender to the processes. We understand time through the processes and not the other way around. Because if we looked closely at the processes, we would see the stillness. We would see, and we would not feel that there is time that passes us by. Ever since the split second of realization in my car, it was almost 4 years ago, the image Simcha has grown and changed. 4 years have passed and many things happened. But the pure essence, or what is speaking right now freely, knows that it's the same split second, it's the same moment as in the car and as before. It is what always was and is. When you connect to the present moment, that is a non-moment, because moment is something in time and it has a duration, but this moment has no duration. It's not somewhere in time. It's just pure stillness without any references to anything. So this is what is, and everything just is the processes that are superimposed in front of the angle of the separate form, and there is for Simcha the separate form that is now released, now the all-nothingness, this thing that is speaking, has no concept of time. From the moment it started talking in this recording, no time has passed. if we realize that we are this only one single still moment, and everything that surrounds us is an illusion, and there is an illusion of time, we can try to concentrate in this very moment and see what we can do in it, because there is no such thing as time. Because nothing that has ever happened to us in the past has ever happened to us in the past. And so many things we carry around from the past to the present moment. We take the past that never existed, that nothing has happened in it, to the current moment, and we ruin the current moment with the past. Or we look to the future that doesn't exist, and we fear it, or we hope that things will happen in it, and we ruin the current moment. This moment is the only thing that is. You were never a baby or a teenager, and none of the things that happened to the separate form that you identify with has happened to it in the past. It never happened. So you can play with these words, because believing them without knowing them yourself is like a craziness. And I don't expect anyone to lose its mind and to just jump and blindly believe everything that anyone says. But if you are listening to these words and you want to hear what I have to offer you, play with these words. Try to see how can they help you in your present moment. Can you take the burden of this past off your shoulders if I say that it never happened, because time is an illusion? So much joy. This is why they call it liberation or salvation, because in the moment of realization you realize that none of the things that happened to you in the past has happened to you. They were all an illusion, and the past is an illusion, and time is an illusion, and you were never something other than this present moment, still and wonderful and alive, and you are free. So much freedom. This is why I talk about time, and I suggest this weird concept to you just for some kind of a relief or comfort, that things aren't as they appear now. Maybe someday you will see it. I hope you'll see it with your own eyes. You'll feel it, and you'll be it. You'll become this stillness and live this all nothingness freely. But until then, realize that time is a tool in order to create a story, to make the angle of the separate form identify with the story. It has to be logical. So if you look at it in a scientific kind of way, it's faultless, because you can always trust all nothingness to be faultless, to be perfect. So scientists can explore time and realize wonderful things about it, because all nothingness has built it so perfectly with laws, logical laws, beautiful laws that apply here and in space or everywhere. You can believe this science because you can explore it, but it's only an exploration of the illusion. And it's perfect because the one who created this illusion is perfect. So you can believe that science will describe it very faithfully, but the very nature of time is different, and it's above this exploration of science. And I believe that science will realize that in some point that there is a barrier there they cannot pass until they make another jump into a broader perception of what they automatically assume. So this is the illusion of time, a wonderful illusion, like all this wonderful, colorful, live illusion that surrounds us. It's only a tool. It's only something that we can understand how to use ourselves, because it's flexible, it's not permanent. You can take it to your own hands and play with it, play with time, and see what happens when you try to connect to this stillness, this place that is not time, and see what happens inside this untimely place. See if you can live your life in this present moment, knowing that there has never been something other than this present moment, and this moment can never pass.
Nothing good, nothing bad, nothing ventured, nothing gained, nothing stillborn or lost, nothing further than proof, nothing wilder than you, nothing older than time, nothing sweeter than wine, nothing physically